Before we dive in, a quick but important disclaimer. This presentation is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not financial, investment, or implementation advice. The world of enterprise software is complex, and you should always conduct your own thorough due diligence and consult with qualified professionals before making any purchasing decisions for your company. Let me paint a picture for you. It's Monday morning. You're in a boardroom, physical or virtual, and the pressure is on. You have to make a multi-million-dollar decision about a new product launch, a supply chain pivot, or a major marketing spend. Someone on your team pulls up a chart. It looks okay, but then the questions start. Where did this data come from? Is this sales data from Salesforce or from our ERP? Wait, that doesn't match the spreadsheet finance sent over last Friday. Suddenly, confidence evaporates. The multi-million-dollar decision is now resting on a foundation of data quicksand. If that scene feels even remotely familiar, you are in exactly the right place. Because that chaos, that lack of a single trusted source of truth, is costing American businesses billions in missed opportunities, inefficient operations, and flat-out bad decisions. What if you could replace that chaos with clarity? What if every decision-maker, from the C-suite to the factory floor, was looking at the same real-time trusted data? That's the promise of modern business intelligence, or BI. And today, we're putting one of the heaviest hitters in the enterprise world under the microscope, SAP Analytics Cloud, or SAC. You've probably heard the name. Your IT department might have mentioned it. SAP is a titan. A staggering 99 of the top 100 largest companies in the world run their software. So when they build an all-in-one platform for analytics, planning, and predictive forecasting, you have to pay attention. But is it the right tool for your US-based company? That's the million-dollar question. And this video is designed to give you the answer. We're not going to just read you a feature list from a marketing brochure. We are going to give you a strategic framework to evaluate if SAC is the key to unlocking your company's potential, or a complex, expensive distraction that will tie you up in knots. My goal is to save you hundreds of hours of research and potentially millions of dollars by helping you make the right choice the first time. Over the course of this deep dive, we're going to tear SAC apart, piece by piece. We'll explore its three core pillars: business intelligence for visualizing your data, enterprise planning for budgeting and forecasting, and augmented analytics that use AI to tell you not just what happened, but why it happened and what's likely to happen next. We will stress test its integration capabilities. How well does it really play with non-SAP systems like Salesforce, Workday, or your custom databases? We'll put it in the ring against its biggest rivals here in the US market, Microsoft's Power BI and Salesforce's Tableau, and give you a no-nonsense comparison of where it wins and where it gets knocked out. And crucially, we'll tackle the elephant in the room: the true cost. Not just the license fees, but the implementation, the training, the talent you need to hire. We'll give you the real talk that the sales reps might leave out. And we're looking at all of this through a distinctly American lens. We'll discuss how SAC handles US-specific compliance and reporting standards. We'll consider the data center infrastructure here in the States and what that means for performance and data sovereignty. We'll analyze its fit within the typical tech stack of a mid-market to large enterprise US company. This isn't a generic overview. It's a focused analysis for businesses operating right here. So the big question remains: is SAP Analytics Cloud a truly unified, game-changing platform? Or is it just a collection of decent tools bundled together under a famous logo? To answer that, we have to start at the beginning. We need to go beyond the marketing and understand the fundamental architecture and philosophy behind SAC. What was SAP trying to build here? Understanding their goal is the first step to knowing if it aligns with yours. At its core, SAP Analytics Cloud is driven by a single powerful idea: the closed-loop enterprise. This is the absolute key to understanding its place in the market. Most BI tools, even fantastic ones like Tableau or Power BI, are primarily tools of observation. They are like a beautiful high-tech dashboard in a race car. They give you stunning visualizations of your speed, your engine temperature, your fuel levels. They give you critical warnings. They are essential for understanding your performance. But they are fundamentally read-only. You see the warning light, but you have to use a different set of controls, the steering wheel, the pedals, to act on that information. SAP's vision for SAC is radically different. They want to build the dashboard, the steering wheel, the engine control unit, and the GPS all into one integrated console. The goal isn't just to see an insight. It's to act on it right there in the same environment. This is the closed loop. You analyze your past performance, Use that insight to create a new plan or forecast, and then seamlessly push that plan back into your operational systems to drive future actions. See that sales are unexpectedly high in the Midwest? Don't just make a pretty chart. In SAC, the idea is you can immediately model the financial impact, adjust your sales forecast, allocate more inventory, and write those new numbers directly back into your S/4HANA financial system, all without ever leaving the platform. This vision is built on 3 foundational pillars. First is classic business intelligence. This is the part that competes directly with the likes of Tableau. It's about connecting to data sources, building interactive dashboards, and telling stories with your data. This is your What Happened engine. We'll dig into the nitty-gritty of its visualization power later. But its standout feature here is its live connection to other SAP systems. For any US company running its operations on SAP, this is a massive deal. It means you can analyze your data in real time without copying or moving it, which is a huge win for security, governance, and speed. The second pillar is enterprise planning. This is a game changer and a major differentiator. Think about how your company does budgeting and forecasting today. For many, it's a nightmare of 1,000 Excel spreadsheets flying back and forth over email. Version control is a myth, formulas break, and consolidating everything is a heroic month-long effort. SAC aims to kill the spreadsheet chaos. It provides a collaborative, secure, and powerful environment for financial planning, workforce planning, sales forecasting, you name it. It takes this critical business function out of unsecured spreadsheets and puts it into an enterprise-grade system that's directly connected to your analytics. This is the What Should We Do engine. The third and most forward-looking pillar is augmented analytics. This is where artificial intelligence and machine learning come into play. This isn't just about making charts. It's about the system automatically finding the story in your data for you. This is your Why Did It Happen and What's Next engine. Tools within SAC like Smart Insights and Smart Discovery act like a data scientist in a box. You can point it at a data point, say a sudden drop in profit margin, and it will automatically analyze millions of data combinations to tell you the key drivers behind that change. It might find that the drop is most correlated with the specific new shipping partner and a rise in raw material costs from a particular supplier. Takes the guesswork out of analysis. It also includes predictive forecasting, using historical data to project future outcomes with a degree of statistical confidence. So you have these 3 pillars: BI planning and augmented analytics, all living in one house. But what kind of house is it? Architecturally, SAC is a pure software as a service or SaaS solution. It's cloud-native, built on the SAP Business Technology Platform. For your CIO and IT department, this means no servers to buy, no software to install on-premise, and no painful manual upgrades. SAP handles all the back-end infrastructure and pushes out new features and updates every quarter automatically. This lowers the total cost of ownership and frees up your IT team to focus on more strategic work. This cloud architecture is the foundation, but the real test is connectivity. How does it talk to your data? As I mentioned, its superpower is the live connection to the SAP universe. S/4HANA BW/4HANA SAP DataSphere. The data never leaves your system's security perimeter. It's fast, it's secure, and it's real-time. For an SAP-centric organization, this is as good as it gets. But what about the rest of your data? What about Salesforce, your Google BigQuery data warehouse, or that old Oracle database? For these non-SAP sources, SAC typically relies on import or data acquisition. This means you're scheduling regular data copies from the source system into SAC. This introduces potential latency. Your data might be a few hours old, and it means you're duplicating data, which can create governance headaches. This is a critical trade-off and a major strategic consideration. Is the power of an integrated planning and analytics platform worth the potential complexity of managing both live and imported data connections? Understanding this core philosophy, the dream of the closed loop, and this fundamental architecture is the first, most critical step. SAC isn't trying to be just another dashboarding tool. It's making a much bigger, more ambitious promise: to be the single place where your organization makes and executes its most important decisions. And to understand if that promise is real, we have to tear down the marketing slides and look at the engine underneath. At its core, SAP Analytics Cloud is built on a simple but radical idea: that the 3 most critical functions of any data-driven business should not live in separate, warring kingdoms. I'm talking about business intelligence, financial planning, and predictive analytics. For decades, in almost every American company, these have been 3 different departments, using 3 different sets of software, often arguing over 3 different versions of the truth. Business intelligence, or BI, is your historian. It's the function that looks in the rearview mirror and tells you with certainty what happened. This is the world of dashboards, reports, and key performance indicators. It answers the questions: how were our sales in the Midwest last quarter? Which product line had the highest margin? What was our employee turnover rate in the Dallas office? For most companies, this is where their analytics journey begins and, unfortunately, often ends. They buy a tool, build some beautiful charts showing a 10% dip in revenue, and everyone stares at the red arrow pointing down. The problem is, a traditional BI tool is great at telling you that you're sick, but it can't write the prescription. It shows you the symptom, the red line on the chart, but leaves you to guess at the cause and the cure. Let's make this real. Imagine a mid-sized US apparel company. We'll call them American Threads. They're looking at their Q3 sales dashboard. It's a sea of red. Sales in the Western region are down 15%. A traditional BI tool lets them see this. They can even drill down and see the drop is sharpest in California. Okay, that's a fact. But why? Is it a new competitor? A failed marketing campaign? A supply chain issue hitting their West Coast distribution center? The BI dashboard alone can't connect those dots. The sales data lives in one system, the marketing spend in another, and the supply chain logistics in a third. The conversation stalls. The meeting ends with an action item to look into it, which is corporate speak for, let's all go dig through different spreadsheets and argue about it next week. This is the first problem SAC aims to solve. It's designed to be that single source of truth connecting to all those disparate data sources, your Salesforce, your SAP S/4HANA, your Google BigQuery, even your simple Excel files. So the manager at American Threads doesn't just see the sales dip. In the same dashboard on the same screen, they can overlay the marketing campaign data for that region. They see that a digital ad campaign was launched, but its click-through rate was abysmal. They can then pull in inventory data and see that their most popular West Coast product, a specific line of jackets, was out of stock for 3 weeks in September. Suddenly, the what from the BI report is connected to the why. It wasn't one thing. It was a combination of a bad ad campaign and a critical stockout. This is the first pillar, providing not just data but context. But context isn't enough. Knowing why you failed is useful, but it doesn't pay the bills. This brings us to the second and arguably most revolutionary pillar of SAC planning. This is where we stop looking in the rearview mirror and start looking through the windshield. Planning is the function that asks, okay, now what are we going to do about it? This is the world of budgeting, forecasting, and resource allocation. For 99% of companies in America, this process is a nightmare. It's a chaotic mess of disconnected Excel spreadsheets. The finance department creates a master budget template, version 1. They email it out to 100 different department heads. 100 different versions come back, many with broken formulas, hidden rows, and personal modifications. Someone in finance then has the soul-crushing job of manually copying and pasting all this data back into a master file, which we'll call version 12 final, for now. The process is slow, it's riddled with errors, and it's completely disconnected from the real-time reality of the business. The sales team is looking at live CRM data, while the finance team is planning next year's budget based on a spreadsheet that's already 3 weeks out of date. SAC's approach is to burn that entire process to the ground. Instead of emailing spreadsheets, the planning happens right inside the same platform where the analysis took place. The manager at American Threads, having identified the problem in California, can now model a solution directly in SAC. They can create a new version of their Q4 forecast. What if we reallocate 20% of the marketing budget from the underperforming digital ads to a more targeted influencer campaign? They can drag a slider, type in a new number, and instantly see the projected impact on their revenue and profit margin for the entire region. What if they also increase the safety stock for those popular jackets to prevent another stockout? They can adjust that variable, and the system can automatically recalculate the impact on warehousing costs and projected sales. This is a seismic shift. There are no more disconnected files. Everyone is working on the same set of numbers in the same environment. The head of marketing can log in, see the proposed change, and leave a comment directly on the data point. The head of supply chain can weigh in on the inventory adjustment. The collaboration is happening in real time, linked directly to the data. This concept, known as integrated financial planning or XP&A, extended planning and analysis, is about turning your budget from a static dead document into a living, breathing strategic tool. You're not just setting a target, You're building a dynamic model of your business. So we've looked at the past with BI, and we've made a plan for the future with planning. But our plan is still based on human assumptions. We think the influencer campaign will work. We assume the inventory adjustment is the right move. This brings us to the third pillar, the one that truly separates SAC from the crowd: predictive analytics. This is where we ask the machine for its opinion. It's about leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning to look at all the data, all the history, all the trends, all the variables we can't possibly see, and answer the question, what is most likely to happen? For our team at American Threads, this is where the magic happens. They've created their new plan. Now they can use SAC's built-in predictive tools like Smart Predict to analyze it. They can ask the system, based on the last 5 years of sales data, seasonality, competitor activities, and general economic indicators, what is the probability that this new plan will hit our 10% growth target for Q4? The system doesn't just guess. It runs thousands of simulations. It analyzes the historical impact of influencer campaigns. It looks at the correlation between inventory levels and sales lift. It might come back and say there's an 85% chance of success, but it might also highlight a risk they didn't consider. For example, it might identify that their planned marketing spend is heavily concentrated in the first 2 weeks of the quarter, but historical data shows that consumer spending for their products in California actually peaks in the last 3 weeks leading up to the holidays. The machine has just found a flaw in their human logic. It's not replacing the planner. It's giving them a data-driven co-pilot, a tireless analyst who can spot patterns a human brain would miss. This democratizes data science. You no longer need a team of PhDs to run complex forecasting models. The business user, the person who understands the market, can leverage these powerful tools with just a few clicks, asking simple business-focused questions and getting sophisticated, data-backed answers. These 3 pillars: business intelligence telling you what happened, planning to decide what to do, and predictive to validate and refine that decision, are not just 3 separate features bolted together. They are designed to work in a continuous, closed loop. You analyze performance, you create a plan, you predict the outcome, you execute the plan, and then new data comes in which you measure against your plan, and the entire cycle begins again. It's a flywheel. Each rotation makes the business smarter, faster, and more agile. This is the fundamental promise of SAP Analytics Cloud. It's a bold claim that it can truly unify these 3 worlds into one seamless experience. But if it can deliver, it represents a profound change in how businesses operate. The question is, how does this grand vision actually hold up in the real world, with all of its messy data and complex corporate politics? To answer that, let's leave the world of marketing brochures and step inside a company. We'll call them Heartland Robotics, a mid-sized, US-based manufacturer of automated warehouse systems. They're headquartered in Ohio, with factories in Michigan and a distribution network spanning North America. They're successful, but they're drowning. Not in debt, but in data. Every Monday morning, the CEO of Heartland Robotics walks into a meeting with 3 different reports on her desk. The first, from the finance department, is a massive Excel workbook. It's a work of art in a terrifying, fragile kind of way. It has 47 tabs, is riddled with VLOOKUPs that someone named Dave built 6 years ago, and it takes 20 minutes just to open. This report says quarterly revenue is up 3%. The second report is from the sales team. It's a slick-looking dashboard pulled directly from their CRM. It's colorful, it's real-time, and it says sales bookings are up 8%. The head of sales is beaming. The third report is from operations. It's a stark, text-based printout from their ancient ERP system. It shows that while sales might be up, shipments are delayed, and a key component is backordered for 6 weeks, putting the entire quarter's deliveries at risk. So, is the company doing well? Is revenue up 3% or 8%? Or are they about to face a massive customer satisfaction crisis? The Monday morning meeting devolves into an argument. Finance accuses sales of counting deals that haven't closed. Sales accuses operations of being a bottleneck. And operations accuses everyone of making promises they can't keep. The CEO leaves with a headache, no closer to a real answer, unable to make a confident decision. This is the reality of data silos. It's not a technical problem. It's a business problem. It's a communication problem. It's a trust problem. Each department has its own version of the truth, and the company is paralyzed by it. The annual planning process is even worse. It's a 3-month-long nightmare of emailing spreadsheets back and forth. Version 4 final. Version 5 final. Version 5 Final with John's edits. By the time the budget is approved, the market assumptions it was built on are already obsolete. This is the exact battlefield SAP Analytics Cloud was designed to conquer. So Heartland Robotics decides to take the plunge. The first step isn't about building fancy charts. It's about building bridges. SAC has this core capability of creating connections to other systems. For Heartland, this means connecting directly to their ERP system for operational data, their CRM for sales data, and their financial consolidation system. This isn't about replacing those systems. It's about unifying their data. Some of these are live connections. Imagine a secure, open pipeline directly from SAC to the source system. When a salesperson updates a deal in the CRM, that change is reflected in an SAC dashboard instantly. There's no waiting for an overnight data load. For other systems like the cumbersome ERP, they might schedule data imports to happen every hour. The key is that the process is automated, governed, and centralized. The first aha moment comes 2 weeks into the project. The IT team, working with a business analyst, recreates the 3 separate Monday morning reports in a single SAC dashboard. They call it the CEO's Command Center. For the first time, the CEO can see financial revenue, sales bookings, and inventory levels on one screen. But here's the magic. The metrics are linked. She clicks on the Northeast region on a map. Instantly, all the other charts on the dashboard filter to show only Northeast data. She sees the top salesperson for that region, the most popular product, and crucially, the current inventory levels at the Pennsylvania distribution center that serves that region. She can see the whole story in one place. The argument is over. The data tells the truth. But this is just business intelligence, the BI part of the equation. It's about understanding what has happened. The real transformation at Heartland begins when they start using the P in SAC. Planning. They decide to tackle the annual budget. Instead of emailing spreadsheets, the finance team builds the budget model directly within SAP Analytics Cloud. It's a collaborative environment. They can assign tasks, set deadlines, and control permissions. The regional sales managers no longer receive a spreadsheet. They log into a simple, web-based input form. They enter their sales forecast for the next year, product by product, month by month. As they enter their numbers, something incredible happens. The overall corporate revenue forecast, the one the CFO is watching, updates in real time. The model is also connected to their HR system. As the sales forecast goes up, the model can automatically calculate the need for 2 new sales reps and the associated salary and commission costs. The head of sales can now run a what-if scenario. What if we hire those 2 reps in Q1 instead of Q3? How does that impact our travel budget and our projected revenue? He can change the driver, and the entire plan adjusts instantly. The supply chain team is also looped in. They see the aggregated sales forecast and can immediately use it to plan their raw material purchases. If sales plans a big promotion for a specific robotic arm in May, supply chain sees it coming months in advance and can ensure the components are ready. This is the end of the data silos. It's not just a single source of truth for reporting on the past. It's a single unified platform for planning the future. The conversation shifts from whose numbers are right to are we making the right plan with these numbers? It's a monumental shift from defensive justification to forward-looking strategy. And what about the A for analytics, or what SAP now calls augmented analytics? That financial analyst at Heartland, the one who used to spend 30 hours a week just chasing down data and fixing broken formulas in Excel, she now has time to dig deeper. She uses SAC's Smart Insights feature. With one click on the Q3 revenue number, the system's AI engine crunches through all the underlying data, sales reps, products, regions, customer types, and automatically generates plain English explanations for why the number changed. It might say, overall revenue increased by 5%, primarily driven by a 20% sales increase of the Model X lifter in the Southeast region, attributed to new customer acquisitions in the logistics sector. Suddenly, she's not a data janitor. She's a strategic advisor. She's bringing insights to the leadership team, not just numbers. She uses the predictive features to build a forecast that analyzes a decade of sales data and projects future performance based on seasonality and market trends, giving the company a more realistic picture of the year ahead than any human-driven forecast ever could. This is the vision SAP sells. A world where business intelligence, enterprise planning, and augmented analytics are not 3 separate tools, but 3 interconnected workflows in one unified experience. For a company like Heartland Robotics, It's the difference between navigating with a compass, a sextant, and a star chart, and navigating with a fully integrated GPS. It's a powerful vision of a truly data-driven organization, but getting there is a journey, and that journey is often paved with unexpected obstacles, hidden costs, and a steep learning curve. So what does it really take to turn this digital dream into a reality for a typical American company? Let's pull back the curtain and walk through a scenario that plays out in boardrooms and IT departments across America every single day. Imagine a company, let's call them American Heartland Manufacturing. They're a solid mid-market business based in Ohio, making high-quality components for the automotive industry. They've been around for 50 years. They're profitable, they have loyal customers, but they're drowning in data they can't use. The CEO gets weekly reports as a 100-page PDF, 10 days after the week has actually ended. The sales team in Michigan lives in their Salesforce dashboards, but that data doesn't talk to the production data from the factory floor in Indiana. The finance team in the Ohio headquarters are wizards, absolute magicians with Microsoft Excel, but their forecasts are built on spreadsheets so complex, so full of manual links and VLOOKUPs, that only 2 people in the entire company understand them. And one of them is planning to retire next year. This is the classic American business story. Success built on grit and good products now facing a digital ceiling. So, they see a demo of SAP Analytics Cloud. It's beautiful, sleek. The presenter builds a stunning interactive dashboard in 20 minutes. They show real-time sales data flowing in, overlaid with supply chain logistics. They click a button, and a predictive forecast pops up, suggesting which product lines will be most profitable next quarter. It looks like magic. It looks like the answer to all their problems. The leadership team is sold. They sign the contract, feeling a surge of excitement. They believe they've just purchased a competitive advantage. They've bought the future. And then week 1 of the implementation begins. The honeymoon is over. The first and arguably the biggest obstacle they hit is the one that was glossed over in that slick demo, connecting their actual real-world messy data. The promise of SAC is that it can connect to anything. The reality is that making those connections is a brutal, painstaking process. Their main accounting and production system is an older on-premise ERP. It's not in the cloud. It's sitting on a server in a closet down the hall. Getting SAC to talk to it isn't a simple plug-and-play operation. It requires setting up something called a cloud connector, configuring firewalls, dealing with security protocols. Their overworked IT director, who is used to managing email servers and laptops, is now reading 100-page technical manuals on data acquisition versus live connections, trying to understand the performance implications of each. This isn't what he signed up for. Then they try to connect to their Salesforce data. That's easier, it's cloud to cloud. But they quickly discover the data itself is a disaster. Over the years, different sales reps have entered company names in a dozen different ways. IBM, International Business Machines. To a human, it's all the same. To a computer trying to build a clean dashboard, it's 3 different companies. Thousands of records are incomplete. Contact information is outdated. This is the moment of terrifying realization for American Heartland Manufacturing. The problem isn't the new tool. The problem is the data they've been collecting for 20 years. So the project grinds to a halt. Before they can even start building the beautiful dashboards they were promised, they have to embark on a massive, unplanned, unbudgeted data cleansing project. This requires pulling people from every department to manually review and standardize information. It's tedious, thankless work. It feels like a detour, but it's the only road forward. This is the first hidden cost of implementation. Your data is probably in worse shape than you think, and SAC will act as a giant magnifying glass on that problem. While the IT and data teams are wrestling with this technical monster, a second, more insidious problem is brewing. The people. The finance team, the Excel wizards, see SAC not as a gift, but as a threat. Their expertise, their value to the company, is tied up in those complex spreadsheets. They've spent their careers building and perfecting them. This new tool is foreign, takes away their control. It changes a workflow they've had for decades. The most common question during the training sessions is, "This is nice, but can I export it to Excel?" They don't trust the numbers on the screen until they can see them in a familiar grid of rows and columns. This isn't just stubbornness, it's a genuine skills gap. Your best financial analyst is not automatically your best SAC dashboard designer. They think in terms of tables and ledgers, not data visualizations and interactive stories. They need training, and not just a 2-hour webinar. They need deep, immersive training to fundamentally change how they think about and interact with data. This is the second hidden cost: the significant investment in time, money, and lost productivity required to upskill your existing workforce. You're not just buying software, you're funding an internal education program. Then comes the battle for control. For the first time, sales data from Michigan and production data from Indiana can be seen on the same screen, in real time. In theory, this is fantastic. In practice, it creates organizational friction. The head of sales argues that the production team's data is wrong because it doesn't account for last-minute order changes. The head of operations fires back that the sales team's forecasts are pure fantasy, and they shouldn't be making promises the factory can't keep. Before SAC, these arguments happened in slow sequential email chains. Now, the conflicting data is on a giant screen in the CEO's office for everyone to see. The technology has exposed the fault lines in the organization's processes and communication. So the project halts again, this time for a series of painful meetings to define data ownership, establish governance, and agree on a single standardized set of metrics. Who has the final say on what the official sales number is? This isn't a technical question, it's a political one. And all the while, the costs are quietly adding up. The initial quote for the software licenses was just the tip of the iceberg. The third hidden cost is the total cost of ownership. They had to hire a team of external SAP consultants to help with that messy on-premise ERP connection, and their hourly rate is eye-watering. The training courses for the finance and sales teams weren't free. Then, a few months in, the marketing team decides they want to use the predictive forecasting features they saw in the demo. It turns out, that feature isn't included in the business intelligence license they bought. It requires upgrading to the more expensive predictive analytics license. The software, which seemed like a single product, is actually a complex menu of options, and it's easy to get it wrong. The budget, which was approved with such optimism 6 months ago, is now a wreck. So here we are, half a year into their journey. American Heartland Manufacturing is over budget, behind schedule, and their employees are frustrated. The single source of truth they dreamed of is still a mirage. They have a powerful, expensive tool that nobody fully knows how to use, connected to data that nobody fully trusts, and it's creating political fights between departments that used to get along just fine. The initial excitement has evaporated, replaced by a grim sense of buyer's remorse. They've fallen into what consultants call the trough of disillusionment. It's a make-or-break moment. They can either pull the plug, writing it all off as a costly failure, or they can find a way to push through the pain. So what separates the companies that fail from the ones that emerge on the other side, stronger and smarter than ever before? It's a single, deceptively simple pivot in thinking. The companies that fail ask, how do we get our people to use this new tool? The companies that succeed ask, how does this new tool serve our people? It's the difference between pushing a technology and creating a culture of data-driven curiosity. And there is no better example of this than the story of a company we'll call Apex Industrial, a classic American manufacturing firm based out of Ohio. Apex was the perfect candidate for a digital transformation. They had been in business for over 70 years, built on a foundation of quality engineering and strong customer relationships. But by the late 2010s, their foundation was cracking. Their data was a mess, scattered across a dozen legacy systems, ancient AS/400 databases, and most critically, thousands of siloed Excel spreadsheets. The executive team, seeing competitors who were faster and more agile, decided to make a massive investment in a unified analytics platform. They chose SAP Analytics Cloud, sold on the dream of a single integrated solution that could connect directly to their core SAP ERP system, providing one version of the truth for everyone from the shop floor to the C-suite. The initial rollout was a disaster. The project team spent 18 months and millions of dollars building what they thought was a perfect system. They connected the data sources. They built dozens of beautiful, complex dashboards. They held mandatory, all-hands training sessions. And then nothing. The sales team complained the mobile app was clunky and went right back to their old spreadsheets. The finance department, led by a CFO who had built his career on his mastery of VLOOKUPs and pivot tables, refused to trust the automated reports, running his own numbers in parallel every single month. He'd hold up his spreadsheet in the monthly review meeting and say, "The system says we're at 10.2 million, but my numbers show 9.9. Until you can explain that $300,000 gap to me, this thing is useless." The project was bleeding money and, more importantly, credibility. The CIO was on the ropes. This was that critical moment. This was the trough of disillusionment. Apex could pull the plug and fire the consulting firm, or they could figure out what went wrong. What they did next is the entire lesson. They stopped talking about technology. They stopped holding training sessions. Instead, the CIO and the project lead went on what they called a listening tour. They sat down with the sales reps, the plant managers, the financial analysts, and they asked one simple question. What is the most frustrating, time-consuming, and repetitive part of your job when it comes to data? They didn't ask, what dashboard do you want? They asked, what problem can we solve? The answer from the finance team was deafeningly clear. The monthly close and budgeting process. It was a nightmare of emailing spreadsheets back and forth, version control errors, and spending the first week of every month just consolidating numbers instead of analyzing them. It was a process ripe for a catastrophic human error. So the project team made a bold decision. They put every other dashboard and every other department on hold. They told the rest of the company, we're focusing 100% of our effort on solving finance's budget problem for the next 90 days. This is the first pillar of success. People. You don't win by boiling the ocean. You win by finding the most influential group with the most painful problem and making them a hero. The project team embedded themselves with the finance department. They didn't just build a tool. They co-created a solution. They used SAC's powerful planning and modeling capabilities to build a new workflow from the ground up. Instead of emailing files, analysts could now input their forecasts directly into a centralized SAC model. The system handled the consolidation automatically, in real time. Version control was a thing of the past. The CFO could now run simulations on the fly. What if raw material costs increase by 5%? What if we hire 10 new salespeople? The answers appeared in seconds, not days. After the first month-end close using the new SAC process, the lead financial analyst walked into the CIO's office. He said that the team had saved over 150 combined hours of manual soul-crushing work. But more than that, for the first time, they spent their time actually analyzing the numbers, finding insights, and advising the business, which was what they were hired to do in the first place. The CFO, the biggest skeptic, became the project's biggest champion. He stood up in the next executive meeting, not with his spreadsheet, but with an iPad showing the live SAC dashboard. He became the evangelist. That's the people part. Find the pain, build the champion, and let them tell the story for you. This leads directly to the second pillar, process. Apex didn't just digitize their old, broken process. They used the technology as a catalyst to invent a new, better one. The old process was collect data, consolidate data, report data, and then maybe discuss data. It was a one-way street. The new process, enabled by SAC, was collaborative and iterative. The monthly finance meeting transformed. It was no longer a presentation, it was a workshop. With the live data projected on the screen, the VP of sales could ask, why are our margins down in the Southwest region? And instead of someone saying, I'll get back to you on that, the CFO could drill down right there in the meeting from the regional P&L to the specific product line all the way down to the individual transactions that were causing the issue. This fundamentally changed the quality and speed of decision-making at the company. The technology didn't just make the old process faster. It made a new, more effective process possible. This is a critical mistake so many US companies make. They buy a powerful tool like SAP Analytics Cloud and try to force it to replicate their old, comfortable spreadsheet-based workflows. It's like buying a Ferrari and then complaining that it's difficult to haul lumber in the back seat. You're missing the entire point. The goal isn't to pave the cow path. The goal is to build a highway. Success requires having the courage to reimagine the process, not just automate it. Only after they nailed the people and the process did they turn their attention back to the third pillar, the platform itself. With the finance team now singing SAC's praises, a pull effect started to happen. The VP of operations came to the CIO and said, hey, that thing you did for finance? Can you do that for our inventory management? We're drowning in spreadsheets trying to forecast demand. The sales team came back and said, okay, we're ready to ditch our spreadsheets. Can you build us a simple mobile dashboard to track our commissions and pipeline? The platform was no longer being pushed on them, they were pulling it in. The implementation team, now armed with a string of successes and a deep understanding of the business, could deliver these solutions quickly. They leveraged SAC's tight integration with their core S/4HANA system to provide real-time operational data. They used the predictive features to build a more accurate demand forecast, reducing excess inventory and saving the company millions. They built simple, clean visualizations, what they called single pane of glass dashboards, that gave every user exactly the information they needed and nothing they didn't. The lesson from Apex Industrial is profound. Their failure had nothing to do with SAP Analytics Cloud's features or functions. Their success wasn't because of a technical breakthrough. It was a strategic and cultural one. They succeeded because they realized that a business intelligence project is not an IT project. It's a business transformation project that happens to be enabled by IT. They focused on solving real human problems, redesigning core business processes, and then, and only then, scaling the technology platform. This people process platform framework is the blueprint. It's what separates the 70% that fail from the 30% that create a true competitive advantage. So, knowing this is the formula for success, the next logical question is, how well is SAP Analytics Cloud actually equipped to support this framework? How does its ability to serve people, enable new processes, and perform as a platform truly stack up against the other giants in the US market, namely Microsoft's Power BI and Salesforce's Tableau? Because choosing the right tool is still a critical part of the equation, and that's where the battle for your business's data future really begins. Let's frame this as the heavyweight championship of business intelligence. In one corner, you have the undisputed people's champion, Microsoft Power BI. It's the tool that's likely already installed on half the computers in your company, bundled with the Office 365 and Azure ecosystem that has become the central nervous system for corporate America. Its strength isn't just its power, it's its ubiquity. It's familiar, it's accessible, and for many, it's the path of least resistance to getting data into the hands of the masses. In the second corner, we have the artist, the master of visualization, Salesforce's Tableau. For years, Tableau has been the gold standard for anyone who believes data shouldn't just be understood, it should be felt. It's the tool that turns spreadsheets into stories, empowering analysts to paint a picture with data that is both beautiful and profoundly insightful. With the backing of Salesforce, it now has a direct line into the heart of customer relationship data, making it a formidable force in sales and marketing analytics. And in the third corner, the strategic powerhouse, SAP Analytics Cloud. SAC doesn't enter the ring just to make pretty charts. Comes to the fight with a different philosophy. It's not just about looking backward at what happened. It's about integrating that insight directly into the forward-looking process of planning, budgeting, and forecasting. For the thousands of US enterprises that run their entire operation on SAP, from finance to manufacturing, SAC isn't just another tool. It's the native language of their core business data. So how does this fight play out? Let's break it down round by round. Round 1. The ecosystem and integration. This is where the battle lines are drawn. Power BI's greatest strength is its home field advantage within the Microsoft universe. If your company lives and breathes Teams, SharePoint, Azure, and Excel, and let's be honest, most do, Power BI feels less like an add-on and more like a natural extension. The ability to embed a live dashboard directly into a Teams channel or a PowerPoint slide with a few clicks is incredibly powerful. It lowers the friction of data consumption to near zero. For a US company looking to drive data literacy across every single department, from HR to sales, Power BI's seamless integration into daily workflows is a massive, almost gravitational pull. Tableau, now powered by Salesforce, has its own fortress. If your business revolves around your CRM, if every customer interaction, sales pipeline, and marketing campaign is tracked in Salesforce, then Tableau is your champion. It taps directly into that ecosystem, providing a rich, visual layer on top of the data that drives your revenue. Its strength is its vast library of third-party connectors. It can connect to almost anything, but it's a connection, not always a deep, native integration. It's bringing data to Tableau to be visualized. This is where SAP Analytics Cloud plays a completely different game. Its superpower is the live connection to SAP's core systems like S/4HANA. This isn't about importing or copying data. It's about leaving the data where it is, in the secure, governed single source of truth of your ERP, and analyzing it in real time. Imagine your chief financial officer looking at a dashboard. With a traditional approach, that data might be hours or even a day old, extracted from the finance system and loaded into the BI tool. With SAC's Live Connection, when a new transaction is posted in the ERP in your Houston headquarters, the CFO can see its impact on the P&L statement in New York instantly. There is no data duplication, no reconciliation nightmares. For a large, publicly traded US company where financial accuracy and real-time operational awareness are paramount, this isn't just a feature. It's a fundamental requirement for governance and strategic agility. Round 2: Visualization and User Experience. This is Tableau's signature round. For years, it has been the undisputed king of intuitive, beautiful data visualization. The drag-and-drop interface is legendary. It empowers a business analyst with no coding skills to explore data, discover trends, and build stunning interactive dashboards that can be presented to the board. It's about the art of the possible, giving users unparalleled freedom to craft the perfect visual story. If your primary goal is to empower a team of dedicated analysts to perform deep exploratory analysis and create compelling data narratives, Tableau is incredibly hard to beat. Power BI is the pragmatist. It's exceptionally capable, highly functional, and for anyone who has ever built a pivot table in Excel, it feels immediately familiar. The learning curve is gentle. It produces clean, effective, and interactive reports and dashboards with ease. While it may not always have the same level of aesthetic finesse or granular design control as Tableau, it delivers 95% of what most business users need. And it does so in an environment they already know. It's the workhorse of corporate BI, reliable, powerful, and built for mass deployment. SAP Analytics Cloud has had to work hard in this area, and it shows. The user interface has improved by leaps and bounds, becoming a sleek, modern, and capable platform. But its unique value isn't just in the dashboard itself. It's in the workflow. SAC is designed around the concept of a unified experience. A user can be viewing a sales performance dashboard, notice a trend, and with a click, switch to a planning module to adjust the sales forecast for the next quarter. They can then run a predictive scenario to see the likely impact of that change on revenue, all within the same story, the same screen. It's less about being the absolute best-in-class tool for just visualization, and more about being a uniquely powerful platform for the entire analytics process, from reporting to planning to predicting. Which brings us to round 3, and this is where SAC lands its knockout combination. The Beyond BI capabilities. This is the fundamental differentiator. Power BI and Tableau are, at their core, phenomenal business intelligence tools. They excel at descriptive and diagnostic analytics, showing you what happened and helping you understand why. They are the rearview mirror and the dashboard of your car, telling you how fast you're going and what's happening around you. You can bolt on predictive capabilities, often by connecting to other services like Azure ML or Einstein, but it's an extension, not a core function. Financial planning, that's almost always done in a completely separate system, be it Excel or a dedicated corporate performance management tool, like Anaplan or Workday Adaptive Planning. SAP Analytics Cloud was built from the ground up to destroy these silos. It combines analytics, enterprise planning, and augmented analytics into one single, unified software-as-a-service solution. This is not a small difference, it is a paradigm shift. This is the realization of what analysts call XP&A, extended planning and analysis. Think about what this means for a US-based manufacturing firm. The head of supply chain isn't just looking at a report of last month's inventory levels. They are in SAC looking at that report, and then using the integrated planning capabilities to adjust safety stock levels for the next 6 months based on a new sales forecast that was just updated by the sales team in the same system. Then they can use the built-in predictive features to run a simulation. What happens to our logistics costs if fuel prices in the Midwest increase by 15%? The system uses predictive models to forecast the impact, allowing for proactive, data-driven decisions. You're not just looking at the business, you're actively steering it, all in one place. This concept of a closed-loop process, from insight to action to reforecasting, is SAC's ultimate value proposition. It's a strategic tool designed for the C-suite and financial planning and analysis teams who need to connect the dots between operational data and financial outcomes. Power BI and Tableau can show you the dots. SAC lets you draw the lines between them and plan the path forward. So who wins the fight? It's not about a single champion. It's about finding the right fighter for your specific battle. If you're a Microsoft-centric organization focused on democratizing data and enabling widespread self-service BI at a low cost, Power BI is an unbeatable value. If you have a team of dedicated data artists who need to craft stunning visual stories and explore complex datasets, especially around your Salesforce data, Tableau is your champion. But if you are a large, complex US enterprise, particularly one running on SAP, and your goal is to break down the walls between seeing what happened and planning what's next, if you want to create a truly integrated strategic planning and analysis environment that connects finance, sales, and operations, then SAP Analytics Cloud isn't just another contender. It's playing a different sport altogether. So we've pitted the giants against each other. But a tool is only as good as the person using it. So who in your US company is this actually for? Is it for the data scientist in your Silicon Valley office? The financial planner in New York? The supply chain manager in Chicago? Because the answer to that question changes everything. Let's break it down persona by persona, starting with the group SAP loves to put front and center, the C-suite. Your CEO in Dallas, your CFO in Charlotte. What do they want? They want the world on a single screen. They want to know, in the 30 seconds between meetings, if they're winning or losing. They don't want to write a query. They don't want to navigate a spreadsheet. They want a big, beautiful number that's either green or red. And for this exact purpose, SAP Analytics Cloud is an absolute killer. Its digital boardroom feature is tailor-made for this audience. It's a sleek, interactive, high-definition command center for the entire enterprise. It pulls in sales from your S/4HANA system, financial actuals from your consolidation engine, and HR data from SuccessFactors, and presents it as a unified strategic story. For the time-starved American executive who lives on their iPad, this is a dream. It's the business equivalent of a real-time satellite map of their entire empire. But here's the billion-dollar catch. That beautiful dashboard is a beautiful lie if the data underneath is garbage. The C-suite sees the final, polished output. They are completely dependent on the integrity of the data pipelines and the skill of the analysts who build these views. If your underlying systems are a mess, SAC will just give you a faster, prettier way to make disastrously wrong decisions. It amplifies whatever you feed it, for better or for worse. Now let's move from the boardroom down to the trenches. Let's talk about the financial planning and analysis team, the FP&A group. These are the people who live and die by the quarter. They're building the budgets, running the forecasts, and explaining to Wall Street why last quarter's numbers were what they were. For decades, their primary tool has been the humble, yet infinitely flexible spreadsheet. This is where SAP Analytics Cloud makes its most powerful, and perhaps most controversial argument. The planning capabilities in SAC are, without a doubt, its strongest feature. This is the spiritual successor to SAP's legendary BPC tool, rebuilt for the cloud. It's designed for complex, collaborative enterprise planning. Imagine 100 budget owners across 50 states all entering their departmental forecasts into a single, unified model. No more emailing conflicting versions of Excel files back and forth. No more spending a week just to consolidate everything. SAC handles it. It manages currency conversions, intercompany eliminations, and complex allocation logic automatically. It provides a single source of truth for the most critical numbers in the company. For a U.S. public company, the audit trail and governance this provides is non-negotiable. It's a fortress. The catch? The cultural shift is massive. You're asking a team of Excel power users, people who can make a pivot table sing, to give up their ultimate flexibility for structured process. In SAC, you can't just plug a random number into a cell to make things work. There are rules. There are workflows. For the CFO, this is a godsend. For the analyst on a tight deadline, it can initially feel like working in handcuffs. The power is immense, but it demands discipline. Okay, let's leave finance and walk over to the operations floor. Let's talk to the supply chain manager in Memphis or the head of logistics in Chicago. Their world isn't about dollars and cents in a ledger. It's about physical goods moving across a continent. It's about pallets in a warehouse, trucks on a highway, and ships on the ocean. They need to know, where is my stuff? Will I have enough product to meet the demand in the Northeast next month? Is my supplier in Vietnam going to be late again? And what will that do to my production schedule in Indiana? This is where SAC's augmented analytics and predictive features are supposed to shine. It can connect directly to your operational systems, your SAP IBP or S/4HANA manufacturing modules, and visualize your entire supply chain. It can use machine learning to analyze historical sales data, factor in seasonality, and even pull in external data like weather forecasts or port congestion reports to generate a more accurate demand plan. It's a crystal ball, helping you see bottlenecks before they cripple your business. In the post-pandemic American economy, where supply chains are brittle and unpredictable, this capability isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a core survival tool. The ability to model the impact of a sudden tariff or a spike in fuel costs in real time is a massive competitive advantage. But the catch is monumental, and its name is data integration. The supply chain is a world of fragmented systems. You have your ERP, a separate warehouse management system, a transportation management system from another vendor, and maybe data from dozens of third-party logistics partners. Getting all of that disparate, messy operational data to flow into SAC in a clean, reliable, and timely manner is not a small task. It's a gargantuan IT project that can take years and millions of dollars. If you're not an all-in, wall-to-wall SAP shop, This integration challenge is the single biggest hurdle you will face. Finally, let's talk about the persona that is often the most skeptical of all-in-one platforms: the data scientist in your Austin or Silicon Valley office. These are the people who live in code. They speak Python and R. They build sophisticated machine learning models from scratch and want total control over their environment. They want raw, unadulterated data and the freedom to use the most advanced algorithms on the planet. How does SAC fit into their world? It doesn't, not as a primary tool. Let's be perfectly clear. SAC is not a replacement for a dedicated data science platform like Databricks or SageMaker. Its built-in predictive tools, called Smart Predict, are powerful, but they're aimed at the citizen data scientist, the business analyst who needs to run a forecast without writing code. It's an automated, guided experience. For a true data scientist, it's a black box. So, is it useless to them? Absolutely not. Its role is different. It's not the laboratory, it's the art gallery. The data science team can build their complex, custom-coded predictive models in the environment of their choice. Then, they can use SAC's connectors to push the results of those models into the platform. SAC becomes the last mile, the visualization and storytelling layer that translates their incredibly complex work into a simple chart or KPI that the CEO can understand. It bridges the chasm between the PhDs in the data lab and the decision-makers in the boardroom. The catch is managing expectations. If you try to sell SAC to your data science team as their new workbench, you will be met with open revolt. It will be seen as a downgrade, a toy. You must position it correctly. It is not a tool for making the science. It is the world's best tool for presenting the science to the people who sign the checks. So, SAP Analytics Cloud is a chameleon. For the CEO, it's a command center. For the CFO, it's a fortress of financial truth. For the supply chain manager, it's a crystal ball. And for the data scientist, it's a stage to present their work. But a tool that tries to be so many things to so many people inevitably comes with trade-offs. And those trade-offs, especially for a US company juggling legacy systems in fierce competition, are where the 7- and 8-figure decisions are made. What are those hidden compromises? What's the catch you don't see in the sales demo? The first catch is that the promised land of self-service analytics for everyone has a very, very high price of admission. And I'm not just talking about the license fees. I'm talking about the price paid in complexity, talent, and time. The sales demo shows a business user and marketing dragging and dropping fields to create a stunning sales dashboard in minutes. It looks as easy as making a PowerPoint slide. And for that specific prepackaged, perfectly clean demo data, it is. But for your company, your messy, complicated, real-world US-based company, that's a different universe. The reality is that to get to that point of drag-and-drop simplicity, you need a team of highly specialized, incredibly expensive experts working behind the scenes. You need data modelers who understand the arcane structures of your source systems. You need security administrators to build a complex web of permissions so that the sales rep in Idaho can't see the salary data for the execs in New York. You need integration specialists to connect SAC to your non-SAP systems, your Salesforce data, your Google Analytics, your ancient on-premise SQL server that runs a critical piece of your supply chain. Think of it like this. SAP gives you a state-of-the-art professional kitchen. It's got a blast chiller, a sous vide station, a wood-fired oven, the works. The demo shows a world-class chef effortlessly plating a Michelin star meal. But what they don't show is the team of prep cooks who spent 12 hours chopping vegetables, the butcher who broke down the primal cuts, the dishwasher keeping everything clean, and the farmer who grew the perfect organic ingredients. Without that entire support chain, you're just a person in a fancy kitchen with a bag of groceries, and you're not going to produce a Michelin star meal. You might just burn the toast. For a US company, this translates into a brutal war for talent. The pool of people who are true experts in SAC data modeling and administration is small, and they command astronomical salaries and consulting fees. They are not the same as the massive army of Power BI or Tableau developers you can find on LinkedIn. So while the front-end tool might be for the business user, the back-end foundation requires an elite squad. And if you don't have them or can't afford them, your multi-million-dollar analytics platform becomes the world's most expensive paperweight. The second major trade-off is what I call the live connection paradox. This is one of SAC's crown jewels. The ability to connect directly to a source system like S/4HANA and get real-time data without duplicating it. No more waiting for an overnight data load. You make a sale in your ERP, and you can see it on your dashboard seconds later. Sounds like magic, and it is sometimes. Here's the paradox. The performance of your brand new, cloud-based analytics tool is now chained directly to the performance of your decades-old, on-premise ERP system. Let me paint a picture. It's the last day of the quarter. Your finance team is running massive, system-crushing reports in S/4HANA to close the books. At the exact same moment, your CEO opens her SAC dashboard to see the final quarter-end sales numbers. The little loading wheel just spins and spins and spins. Why? Because the source system it's trying to query is gasping for air. You've essentially created a traffic jam. Your shiny new Ferrari is stuck behind a 1985 pickup truck on a one-lane road. This creates a brutal dependency. Your analytics team's success is now completely at the mercy of your ERP infrastructure team. Any database patch, any server upgrade, any change to the underlying data structures in the source system can slow down or even break your critical dashboards. This requires a level of communication and collaboration between IT and business teams that, let's be honest, most American companies are still struggling to achieve. The alternative used by competitors is to import the data. Yes, it might be an hour old, but the dashboard is self-contained and lightning fast every single time. So the question for your business is, what's more valuable? Perfectly real-time data that you can only access 95% of the time, or 99% real-time data that is available instantly 100% of the time? The demo never asks you that question. Then there's the third catch, the one that hits the CFO right in the budget, the licensing model. SAP licensing has a reputation for being complex, and SAC is no exception. It's not a simple all-you-can-eat subscription. It's a labyrinth of user types, connection types, and resource consumption that can feel designed to confuse. You start with a business intelligence user license, but then your finance team wants to use the planning and forecasting capabilities. Well, that's a different, more expensive planning user license. Oh, you want to use the cool predictive features to forecast customer churn? That might be another add-on or a higher tier. You want to connect to that old Oracle database? You might need to purchase a specific number of sessions for that data source. You start building more and more complex models and dashboards. You might suddenly find you're consuming more memory and CPU on the back end, which can trigger additional costs. It's a model that makes perfect sense from SAP's perspective. You pay for what you use. But from a customer's perspective, it creates massive budget uncertainty. For a lean US company trying to maintain predictable operational expenses, this is a nightmare. It's like signing up for a cell phone plan where you not only pay for your calls and texts, but you're also charged a micro fee for every time you open your Contacts app or change your background. It makes it incredibly difficult to forecast your total cost of ownership, and that's a red flag for any sharp-eyed financial officer. Finally, we arrive at the biggest, most philosophical trade-off of all. It's the jack-of-all-trades dilemma. SAP Analytics Cloud's greatest strength is its vision of a single, unified platform. Business intelligence, enterprise planning, and augmented analytics, all living together in one happy home. The integration is seamless. You can adjust a sales forecast in a planning model and immediately see the impact on your revenue dashboard. You can run a predictive algorithm to identify at-risk customers, and then build a BI story to share those insights with the sales team. This is the holy grail that IT departments have been chasing for decades. One platform to rule them all. But here's the tough question. By trying to be great at everything, does it risk not being the absolute best at any one thing? If your company's #1 priority is purely visual analytics, creating stunning, interactive, pixel-perfect dashboards that tell a compelling story, is SAC the undisputed king? Many data visualization purists would argue that Tableau, a company that has lived and breathed nothing but data viz for its entire existence, still holds the edge in terms of flexibility, community, and sheer creative power. If your only need is complex, multidimensional financial planning and consolidation for a global enterprise, is SAC's planning module more powerful and mature than dedicated, best-of-breed tools like Anaplan? For some very specific, high-end use cases, the specialists might have an advantage. And if you have a team of hardcore data scientists who live in Python and R, is SAC's augmented analytics going to replace their sophisticated custom-built machine learning models? Not a chance. This is the fundamental choice. Do you go for the integrated suite or the best-of-breed approach? The integrated suite SAC gives you simplicity, a single vendor to call, and powerful cross-functional capabilities. The trade-off is you might have to compromise on the top 5% of functionality that a specialized tool would give you. The best-of-breed approach gives your teams the absolute best tool for their specific job, but it creates a massive headache for IT. who now has to manage, secure, and integrate 3 or 4 different platforms. For a US company, this isn't just a tech decision. It's an organizational and cultural one. It's a question of whether you prioritize centralized consistency or decentralized excellence. So these are the compromises: the hidden costs of implementation and the war for talent, the performance paradox of the live connection, the budgetary nightmare of a complex licensing model, and the strategic dilemma of the integrated suite versus the best of breed. These are the conversations that need to happen in your boardroom long before you ever see a demo, because the right choice isn't about the tool's features, it's about your company's DNA. And in the next part, we're going to run a diagnostic on that DNA industry by industry. So let's start with the heartland of American industry, manufacturing. Picture a mid-sized company in Ohio. Let's call them Precision Parts Incorporated. For 30 years, they've been making critical components for the automotive industry. Their world is a symphony of the assembly line, the hum of CNC machines, and the brutal math of logistics. Their biggest nightmare? A line-down situation at a Ford or GM plant because their shipment was late. Their second biggest nightmare? Watching their already razor-thin margins get eaten alive by volatile raw material costs and inefficient production runs. For a company like Precision Parts, their reality is likely built on an SAP foundation. Their inventory, their production orders, their financials, it's all running on SAP, probably S/4HANA. For them, adopting SAP Analytics Cloud is less like a choice and more like a homecoming. Why? Because the integration isn't a project, it's a feature. The data from their shop floor, their warehouse, their finance department, it flows into SAC not as a clunky export-import process, but as a live, breathing stream of information. They can use SAC to ask incredibly powerful questions that are nearly impossible with other tools. Questions like, how is the real-time scrap rate on line 3 affecting the profitability of our current order with Chrysler? Or using predictive planning, based on the last 6 months of machine sensor data, which of our presses is most likely to fail during the next big production run, and what would be the financial impact? This is where SAC isn't just a dashboard. It's the central nervous system of the smart factory. It connects operations directly to finance. For a US manufacturer already invested in the SAP ecosystem, choosing another BI tool would be like buying a beautiful, expensive engine, and then having to custom fabricate every single nut and bolt to make it fit your car. With SAC, it just bolts right in. The verdict for heavy manufacturing? If SAP is your core, SAC is almost certainly your future. But what if your business isn't about widgets and warehouses? Let's drive from the factory floor to the bustling headquarters of a national retail chain. Let's call them Urban Style Outfitters, based in New York City. Their world isn't about machine uptime. It's about surviving the retail apocalypse. Their competition is Amazon, Zara, and 1,000 direct-to-consumer brands on Instagram. Their challenges are understanding fickle customer trends, managing inventory across 500 stores plus a massive e-commerce site, and figuring out which promotions actually make money versus just giving away margin. Here, the case for SAP Analytics Cloud gets a lot more complicated. On one hand, Urban Style's core financials and supply chain might run on SAP. And for that, SAC is fantastic. Its planning capabilities are top tier. They could model the financial impact of opening 10 new stores in the Sun Belt, or run demand forecasts to figure out how many winter coats to stock in Miami versus Seattle. This is SAC's sweet spot: integrated financial and operational planning. But the rest of their world is a chaotic mix of other technologies. Their point-of-sale system is from NCR. Their customer relationship data is in Salesforce. Their website runs on Shopify. Their customer sentiment data comes from social media listening tools. For the marketing analyst at Urban Style, the most important thing is to pull all of that disparate data together right now to understand why a specific TikTok campaign is driving sales of a certain product in a specific region. This is where competitors like Power BI or Tableau often feel more nimble. They were born in this messy, heterogeneous world. Their mantra is connect to everything, easily. While SAC can connect to Salesforce or Shopify, it can sometimes feel like you're convincing a classical pianist to play jazz. It's possible, but it's not their native language. The retail analysts might find they can build the dashboard they need faster in a different tool. So for Urban Style, the decision is a strategic tug-of-war. Do they prioritize the deep integrated planning power that SAC offers for their core business? Or do they prioritize the agile, quick-turn analysis of their fragmented customer data, where other tools might have an edge? The verdict for retail is a classic: it depends. Now, from the fast-paced world of retail, let's move to an industry where the stakes are even higher. Let's go to a major hospital network, Pacific Crest Health, headquartered in California. Their challenges are immense and uniquely American. They navigate a labyrinth of insurance billing codes, face intense pressure to improve patient outcomes while controlling costs, and above all, they must protect patient data with an almost sacred level of security and compliance, thanks to regulations like HIPAA. For Pacific Crest Health, the flashy, self-service nature of some BI tools can actually be a liability. The idea of thousands of employees building their own dashboards and connecting to sensitive patient data is the stuff of a chief information security officer's nightmares. This is where SAP Analytics Cloud's enterprise DNA becomes a massive asset. Governance, security, and auditable data trails are not afterthoughts. They are built into its very core. Imagine the hospital's CFO. She needs to analyze the profitability of different surgical procedures, factoring in everything from surgical supply costs to labor to insurance reimbursement rates. This is a complex financial planning and analysis task that lives perfectly within SAC, especially if their financials run on SAP. Or think of the chief medical officer, who needs to analyze patient readmission rates across their 20 hospitals to identify which facilities need process improvements. SAC can blend the operational data, patient records, treatment plans, with financial data in a secure, controlled environment. They can set up rigid access controls, ensuring a doctor in the cardiology department can only see anonymized data relevant to their work. In healthcare, the conversation isn't about which tool makes the prettiest charts. It's about which platform provides secure, reliable, and governable insights that can genuinely improve patient care and financial stability. The verdict for large healthcare providers? SAC is an incredibly strong contender, precisely because of its enterprise-grade structure, not in spite of it. Finally, let's leave these established giants and head to the world that defines so much of the modern U.S. economy: a high-growth tech company. Let's call them Innovate Solutions, a 500-person SaaS company in Austin, Texas. They don't have factories or physical stores. Their product is code, and their assets are their people. Their entire business model is built on acquiring customers, keeping them happy, and maximizing monthly recurring revenue. Their world is 100% cloud native. Their sales team lives in Salesforce. Their engineers live in Jira. Their customer support is in Zendesk. Their finances might be in a modern cloud ERP like NetSuite. They have zero SAP footprint. For a company like Innovate Solutions, looking at SAP Analytics Cloud can feel foreign. The deep integration with S/4HANA is irrelevant to them. The powerful structured planning capabilities might feel too rigid for a company whose business model could pivot next quarter. Their head of analytics wants speed and flexibility above all else. They want to connect to a new marketing API in minutes, not weeks. They want a tool that every 25-year-old data analyst can pick up intuitively. They might be more attracted to a tool like Looker, which is built for the modern cloud data stack, or ThoughtSpot, which is focused on AI-driven search. For Innovate Solutions, SAC might feel like an enterprise battleship in a world of nimble speedboats. It's powerful, but is it the right kind of power for them? The verdict for a non-SAP, high-growth tech or professional services firm: it's a tough sell. The cultural and technical fit is often pointed in a different direction. So we've toured the factory floor, walked the retail aisles, and visited the hospital ward. Each has a different story, a different set of pressures. And for each, SAP Analytics Cloud presents a different value proposition. It's a native genius in the SAP-run manufacturing plant, a strategic dilemma in the chaotic world of retail, a secure fortress for the compliance-driven hospital, and a potential misfit for the agile tech startup. Your industry is the first, most critical filter. But it isn't the only one. Let's move beyond the industry you're in and talk about the second filter: your company's size and, more importantly, its trajectory. Are you a 50-person shop in a suburban office park, or a 50,000-person global behemoth? Because the answer to that question changes the math on SAP Analytics Cloud completely. For the small to medium-sized American business, the SMB, the initial reaction to SAC is often sticker shock. And it's not just the licensing fees, it's the entire ecosystem. Implementing SAC correctly isn't a weekend project. It often requires specialized consultants, dedicated internal resources, and a significant upfront investment in time and capital. For a company where every dollar is scrutinized, this can be a non-starter. It can feel like buying a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier when all you really need is a speedboat. You're paying for a level of enterprise-grade governance, security, and planning functionality that your current operations might not even require. In this arena, tools like Microsoft's Power BI or Tableau often present a much lower barrier to entry. They are designed for quicker wins, departmental deployments, and a more gradual ramp-up in complexity and cost. For many SMBs, SAC is frankly overkill. But, and this is a critical distinction, what kind of SMB are you? Are you a stable, local business? Or are you a venture-backed rocket ship that plans to double in size every 18 months? If you're the latter, and especially if you're already building your operational backbone on an SAP system like S/4HANA Cloud, then the conversation shifts. Investing in SAC early on isn't an operational expense. It's a strategic investment in scalability. You're building the foundation not for the company you are today, but for the enterprise you intend to become. You're avoiding the painful multi-million-dollar data migration project 5 years down the road when your patchwork of spreadsheets and disconnected BI tools finally collapses under its own weight. For the ambitious SMB, SAC is a bet on the future. Now let's flip the coin. For the large enterprise, the Fortune 500 company, the calculus is inverted. The cost of SAC, which seems so daunting to an SMB, becomes a rounding error compared to the monumental cost of not having a unified, real-time view of the business. When you have operations spanning multiple continents, thousands of employees, and dozens of subsidiaries, the cost of a single bad decision based on stale or siloed data can run into the tens of millions of dollars. Suddenly, the price of a robust, integrated analytics platform doesn't just seem reasonable. It seems like an absolute necessity. Large enterprises don't struggle with the cost of SAC. They struggle with the complexity of their own organization. And SAC is one of the few platforms built from the ground up to tame that exact kind of complexity. It's designed for thousands of users, intricate security protocols, and petabytes of data. It's built for the scale at which global business actually operates. This brings us to the third and perhaps most decisive filter, your existing technology stack. No analytics tool is an island. It has to connect, integrate, and cooperate with the systems that actually run your business. And this is where SAC reveals its true allegiance. If your company is an SAP shop, if you run on S/4HANA for your financials, use SuccessFactors for HR, Ariba for procurement, and integrated business planning for your supply chain, then the case for SAP Analytics Cloud becomes incredibly compelling. It is, without exaggeration, the native language of your data. The key here is a feature called Live Connections. Unlike other BI tools that have to copy or extract your data into their own environment to analyze it, SAC can connect directly to these source SAP systems. This isn't a minor technical detail. It's a strategic game changer. It means zero data duplication. It means real-time analytics. When a transaction happens in your ERP, it is instantly reflected in your SAC dashboard. For a CFO who needs to close the books, or a supply chain manager tracking inventory in real time, this is the holy grail. Choosing another tool in this environment means you are actively choosing to introduce latency, complexity, and security risks into your architecture. You're building bridges when SAP has already paved a superhighway. But what if you're not an SAP-centric organization? What if your company has a best-of-breed approach? Maybe you use Salesforce for CRM, Workday for HR, a custom Oracle database for finance, and you've built a data lake on Amazon Web Services. This is the reality for a huge number of US companies. In this heterogeneous world, the argument for SAC becomes much more nuanced. Yes, SAC has connectors for all these non-SAP sources, can absolutely pull that data in, but its unique superpower, the live connection, is gone. It's now forced to compete with Power BI and Tableau on their home turf, connecting to a wide variety of sources and providing best-in-class data visualization. And in that arena, the competition is ferocious. Power BI's seamless integration with the entire Microsoft ecosystem, Azure, Office 365 Teams, is a massive advantage for any company invested in that world. Tableau, for its part, is still revered by many data analysts for its pure, unadulterated visualization power and its intuitive, exploratory interface. When you strip away the deep SAP integration, you have to ask, are SAC's planning capabilities and predictive features enough to make it the winner in a head-to-head battle? The answer is no longer a clear yes. It's a maybe. Finally, we arrive at the fourth filter, the one that is so often ignored in technical evaluations: your people. Your culture. A software platform is just a collection of code. It's your team that brings it to life or lets it wither on the vine. You have to ask, what is the DNA of your analytics team? SAP skills are a specialized niche. The pool of world-class SAC developers and architects is smaller and often more expensive than the vast ocean of Power BI or Tableau talent available in the US market. Can you hire them? Can you retain them? Can you afford them? Beyond the developers, think about your business users. Is your company culture one of a centralized top-down center of excellence that builds and distributes standardized reports and dashboards? If so, SAC's powerful governance, security, and data modeling features are a perfect fit. It's designed to create a single, unimpeachable source of truth that everyone consumes. Or is your culture more about decentralized, self-service analytics? Do you want to empower every department manager to be their own data scientist, to connect to new sources, to build their own visualizations, and to explore data freely? While SAC has self-service features, this bottom-up, exploratory philosophy is the very soul of a tool like Tableau. Forcing a culture of radical data freedom into a highly governed platform can create friction. Adoption isn't just a technical challenge, it's a change management crusade. You're not just buying a tool, you're adopting a methodology. You have to be honest about whether that methodology aligns with how your people actually want to work. So where does that leave us? After this deep dive, the answer to our original question, is SAP Analytics Cloud the best tool for your US-based company? Is not a simple yes or no. It's a scorecard. It's a strategic alignment. For the large SAP-centric enterprise in a heavily regulated industry like manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, or finance, SAP Analytics Cloud is very likely the undisputed champion. The need for a single governed real-time source of truth integrated with core financial and operational systems is paramount. For this company, the choice is clear. For the large enterprise with a mixed technology stack, SAC is a powerful but complex contender. Its integrated planning and predictive capabilities are a massive draw, but they must be weighed against the potential advantages of deeper integration with a Microsoft or Salesforce-centric world. This decision requires a careful proof of concept. For the high-growth, ambitious SMB that is already building its future on an SAP backbone, SAC is a strategic, long-term investment. It's a commitment to building a scalable, enterprise-grade data foundation from the ground up, avoiding massive technical debt down the road. And for the small non-SAP business or the agile tech startup that values speed, flexibility, and low overhead above all else, SAC is likely the wrong tool for the job. The cost, complexity, and cultural overhead would be an anchor, not a sail. The decision you face isn't about picking the best analytics tool on the market. There is no such thing. It's about picking the right tool for your company's unique fingerprint, its industry, its size, its technology, and its people. So look at your organization. Look at your roadmap. Look at the people in your meetings. Don't ask if SAP Analytics Cloud is the best tool. Ask if it's your tool. The answer to that question will define your data strategy for the next decade. I want to hear from you. What's your situation? Are you using SAC, considering it? Or did you run the numbers and choose something else? Drop your story, your challenges, and your victories in the comments below. Let's learn from each other's journeys. If this series brought you value and gave you clarity, a subscribe to the channel is the single best way to support this content. Thank you for watching.